Insta too. So you can lead off.
Good morning, world. We are live.
We are live, coming to you on your TV sets in Texas and Louisiana, as well as streamed live around the world on X and on YouTube with our partners, Crypto Cake. My LinkedIn account will be back soon. They had to verify who I am. They said, who is this guy? That either means one, someone's impersonating me, or two, someone got in my account and they're wreaking havoc, stealing all my contacts. Tens of thousands of people in there, David. I'll tell you what, years and years of work. You know, LinkedIn is a great place for business. You know,
LinkedIn is probably the best place for business, and you have a major account there. You've done a great job networking, Mr.
Thanks,
Networks Manager.
The Networks Manager. I mean, all the way back from my early days contracting with the government, my first round of contacts there, the first 5,000 or so, and then the next 13,000 or so contacts being mostly crypto, security, electronic warfare related stuff like that. But yeah, really powerful network. Always love LinkedIn. Hats off to them. And we actually did a big party for them way back in the day, and Grand in Central Park.
Oh,
as
wow.
The story goes. In a former life, I used to throw big parties. Now I throw galas and stuff like that. We throw galas, but in a former life, I used to throw big parties, $250,000 parties, $500,000 parties, $1 million parties around the world. Parties, the coolest parties that I've ever been to have always been my parties.
Cooler than crypto parties?
Then these guys, guys got to get with it, man. We need more money. We need $1 million parties, guys. $1 million parties. These $250,000 parties are not cutting it anymore.
No, it's a new age on the market trends.
It's a new age on the market trends. Well, congratulations, David. We're rounding off our second week here. Yes. We're having a great time.
Yeah, waking up early, getting straight to the money in the morning, and it is a lot of fun.
It is, right? It's a lot of fun, and it's great to know that we're coming in right into your homes, into Texas and Louisiana, right in there on the TV. It's nice to be on the big screen. That is expanding. We're just talking about even expanding internationally on TV, but we'll be expanding throughout the U.S. Quite a bit, and putting that up. And the opportunity is huge. You can see even you have our crypto markets. It's kind of, even if it goes like this a little bit, guys. We went to the cigar store last night. And the guy's like, "Yeah, it's like this," and I'm like, "No, it's kind of like this."
Yes.
It just keeps going
all year.
Yeah,
this whole year it has been an uptrend, and you're sitting very well if you bought that dip last January.
Listen, even if you got in around 20 or 22 or something, you're still doubled your money. I mean, you doubled your money.
Well,
and that's
some people got in at 60K, 50K, so they're getting back there.
Well, that's why they say hodl. Hold on for dear life. Okay. And that's crypto. And what else you're going to do? Actually, what you do then, and Matt Dixon talks about it, is you dollar cost average if you can. And you dollar cost average. And you buy. That's right. You buy and you buy and you buy and you buy, and you get a nice dollar cost average going on in there. And most of the most successful traders I know, and the most successful Bitcoiners and crypto people that I know, that's what they do.
And most of these companies are working on different aspects of technology that we're all going to be using in the future. And take a look at some of their decks and some of their pitches, and what they're working on is really shaping things, and they're getting more investments, and that's helping the price go up.
That's right. A lot of people don't know it, but you have the maximalist too. You might meet some of them some days at the maximalist. Oh, it's only Bitcoin. It's only Bitcoin. Oh, everything else is crap coins. Blah, 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 blah. They shouldn't exist. Nothing should exist except Bitcoin. The fact of the matter is, guys, altcoins, other coins, was Bitcoin's first real use case. And without the other coins, Bitcoin would have never really pumped. All right. Everybody had to buy Bitcoin in order to buy the other coins. There was no fiat on ramps. There was no way to buy it with US dollars back in the day. You had to buy the other coins with Bitcoin. I mean, that was the way you did it. So you went, you bought your Bitcoin, and then you bought your other alternate currencies, and that's the way it works. So that was always, and it's a big ecosystem. You and I have been around long enough. We've heard everybody say, "Oh, everything's going to zero except Bitcoin," so many times. Tens of thousands of currencies out there, and our blockchains, and people use them all the time. So interesting day in the markets. I have to say, I told our brother James, not David, who's on screen with me, but we have two other brothers actually. One of his name is James. I said, James, tomorrow's an up day. He's like, are you sure? I don't know. Yeah, we're looking at the chart. I said, yeah, see, yeah. I think it's up tomorrow.
Would you find a Fibonacci?
What's that?
Did you find a Fibonacci chart?
The Fibonacci. I was following the Elliott wave, and I was riding the wave. No, Matt will talk to us about that stuff. But if you look at the Dow futures are up. And I guess I'm going to share my screen just for a minute here, because when I look at this stuff, I feel like it's kind of interesting for you guys to look as well. And you can see my what I'm doing here. So real quick, you have your Dow futures are up 23 points. I mean, you look, hardly anything really, right? But there it is. It is up. And that historically, in my opinion, in my trading time, usually means that the crypto market is going to go up. And it usually means that the Dow is going to go up, or at least hold its own. Now, a lot of times you'll see if it's really flat, it's kind of flat, pretty much. It's pretty much flat here. They're just kind of prepping for the day. So that is kind of interesting as well. So you have Dow futures. And then if we go over here to our NASDAQ futures, also NASDAQ 100 futures are also slightly up. Okay. So we're looking like, okay, it's probably going to be an up day. Back when I was really trading all the time, I would look at all of this stuff really closely, because you want to see, how things are going. And then if you look at just the world indices, this is how everything closed yesterday. You can see the Dow closed 53 points up. I mean, it's up. When you have professional traders like we have trading these things, when it ends up like that, that's on purpose. They wanted to make sure that ended up. We probably had a nice big rally in order to make sure it ended up there. You see the NASDAQ slightly down. The S&P 500 VIX was there, pretty flat, but I think it's an up Friday. That's my opinion. We also have President Vitt joining us here in a little bit. That's going to be fun. President Vitt is the president of Liberland. And remember, Liberland is that country. It's in between Croatia and Serbia. It's this small swath of land that our friend, President Vitt, whose father was a Czech politician. I guess he's probably a Czech politician, but he never really entered into the party. He's obviously a politician. He has his own country. I used to go around the world saying, we have our own blockchain. And then I met President Vitt. And I'm like, man, this guy's got his own country.
Right.
We are really missing it here. We're really missing it here.
Yep. Playing nice in the sandbox.
Yes. And that's one of the things actually, you have to be a diplomat, right? You diplomat on the world stage, and that's how you get things done. And President Vitt has done a very good job of that. We were telling him, dude, you got to build the wall. You need a Navy. Okay. People start messing with you. You just start shooting.
Jeez.
I know. But, he's like, guys, I remember we were sitting there with the ambassador of Barbados, who I know as well. And we're in Abu Dhabi. And I think he's American as well, but he's now the ambassador of Barbados, and we're one of them. And we're telling him, you got to do it, man. You got to do it. And, President Vitt, he's like, guys, but that's how things get done. And you see, he still has this project, he still has his country. And, in a time when micronations and passports and stuff are existing. I mean, we have like now in the virtual reality world, we have people trying to issue passports and stuff. And so I think that country is going to continue. We're proud members of that country. I've been working with that country for a long time, David and I as well. And we've put a lot of things forward for them. And really happy to have President Vitt on. He'll join us at the half hour. Right now, we're going to bring in our good friend, Mr. Matt Dixon. Matt is with Eve.io. They do an AI platform of ratings, and that's his secret sauce, I think. But he's got some other stuff to say too. How you doing, Matt?
Hi, good morning, guys. Good morning, Texas. Good morning, America. And good morning, the world. Yeah, great to be here. I've got some what I think is interesting stuff today. It's some analysis that I've not seen anybody else do. It's very simple.
Ooh.
Anybody can do it. But
Okay.
I think it's quite powerful. So
Amazing.
I'll jump in quickly. You know how I'm not very good at this particular little job about sharing my screen, but I think I'm
You're getting much better.
Gradually getting to grips with it.
Hey, it's the 9th show today. We're finishing off the first week, Matt. Congratulations. I mean, the second week. Congratulations.
Excellent. So can you see my screen with two charts, Litecoin at the top and Bitcoin at the bottom?
We can. Looks great.
Fantastic. Now, you'd wonder why I put these two particular. Obviously, Bruce loves Litecoin. So I wanted to have a look at Litecoin compared with Bitcoin. It's quite interesting because many of our listeners out there probably don't know that Litecoin was actually a fork from Bitcoin. And a fork, or a hard fork as this was, is basically a reasonably substantial change in the underlying protocol, in this case, the algorithm that was used. So they're very, very similar. There's a lot of similarities between Bitcoin and Litecoin. So Bitcoin started in 2009, and Litecoin started, a guy called Charlie Lee, I think it was, started. He was an ex-Google engineer. He started Litecoin 2 years later in 2013. But they're actually very, very similar blockchains. The Bitcoin, as we probably all know by now, has 21 million, and will only ever have 21 million coins in existence, or tokens in existence. And Litecoin has exactly, or will have exactly 4 times that. 84 million Litecoins will ever be in existence. They both started with a mining reward of 50. So in Bitcoin's case, it's 50 Bitcoin was the first mining reward. And in Litecoin, it's 50 Litecoin. And they halve every approximately 4.5 years, whatever it is, that they're the same sort of halving period. And so because Litecoin started a couple of years after Bitcoin, the last Litecoin will be mined in about the year 2142, whereas the last Bitcoin is due to be mined in the year 2140, approximately. So because Litecoin started a couple of years later, the last coin was mined a couple of years later. And then mining rewards are the same in their own currency, but then the block times are different. So if you remember, the actual number of coins in existence that will ever be is 4 times when you look at Litecoin as against Bitcoin. But the block time is 1/4 for Litecoin. So we have a block time of around about 10 minutes for Bitcoin, and it's about 2.5 minutes for Litecoin. So very, very similar. And that's why they call Bitcoin, they call it gold, and they call Litecoin silver in the crypto world. And that's the reason they're basically the two of the very, obviously Bitcoin was the first. Litecoin was one of the first major altcoins, but it's based on Bitcoin. The only difference is this hashing algorithm. There's a lot less energy required to mine Bitcoin to mine Litecoin as there is to mine Bitcoin. But obviously the rewards are so much less. And if you look at the market cap of Bitcoin is about 160 times that of Litecoin. So just very quickly, let's just take a quick look at the two charts. So I've kind of aligned them here, and we can see, a large part of the history. Before this, the price was very, very low. So I just put the major price history that we've got for the two coins, and I've aligned them. So you can see 2020 is aligned there up to the present day. So this is aligned. So we saw that the all-time high for Litecoin at the top came a lot earlier actually than Bitcoin's top. So Bitcoin all-time high came a little bit later. And that's where we've got the number 2 listed here, labeled here, from an Elliott Wave perspective on Litecoin. But you can see they're kind of roughly the same kind of shape. But what we need to look at is the actual percentage price moves, because we're trying to analyze from a trader's perspective which is the best one from an investment perspective. Now, we're not telling you the future. Maybe it'll be different in the future. But to date, Bitcoin has been massively more attractive from an investment perspective than Litecoin. So, for example, if we were to look at, let's just look at the all-time high, for example, on Bitcoin was 69,000-ish, around 69,000. And the low that came with the FTX crisis was 15,004-ish, somewhere around there. So we're talking somewhere around about, it's a big fall, 78% fall in the price of Bitcoin. That was during that long bear market that we just experienced and we're hopefully coming out of. But Litecoin, just remember Bitcoin 78% fall. Litecoin fell somewhere around 90%. So it fell to about 10% of its peak. Its peak was around 400, I think it's 413, somewhere around there. Fell down to about 39. So it fell about 90%. So you can see the downside was massive compared with Bitcoin. But then let's look at the upside. If the downside was big, maybe the upside was bigger with Litecoin. But no, that's not the case. The upside, so for example, from the low of $39 with the FTX crisis, which aligned pretty well with the Bitcoin low, from that low to the current price, for example, now, $76. So we're approximately up 100%. We've doubled Litecoin from the low. But Bitcoin from 15 is at 42.8 is almost 3x. So we're looking at 2x Litecoin, 3x Bitcoin on the upside. But on the downside, you can see Bitcoin was better on the downside and it was better on the upside. So Bitcoin, from that perspective, just a pure comparison perspective, was way, way better than Litecoin as an investment. So moving forward, if I was going to hodl, and Bruce loves hodling, and some of these cryptos, if you buy them, dollar cost average them, even if you've done it with Litecoin, Bitcoin, whatever, you'd have done very, very well with hodling those cryptos, done better than nearly every other asset class you can think of. But even within the crypto asset class, you have to be a little bit discerning on where you're going to invest. And there are opportunities which potentially have got more upside than Bitcoin. But I'm just saying on a comparative basis here, Litecoin has more downside and less upside than Bitcoin. So if I was looking at these two from all the historical data that's available, I would choose Bitcoin every time. But that's not to say the future might not, may be different. But throughout the history, that's what that's telling us. So just very briefly, I'll look at just Bitcoin alone. And this is from the all-time high. This is using Wave Basis platform. And I've set it. This is actually showing corrective down. So that means I'm trying to look at the most positive scenario, which means impulsive is the upside. Now, Bitcoin shows that we had a big correction from the all-time high. This was the winter A, B, C down. That's a correction in Elliott Wave terms. But then we look as though from this count, we're moving impulsively to the upside. If you get 5 waves to the upside, if this is corrective downside, upside is going to be impulsive and is going to overtake and move to new all-time highs at some point in the future, according to this chart. So we've got a wave 1 up, 2 down, 3 up. We're working on wave 4, and that wave 4 might take us a bit lower before we then push higher again. So that is telling us that according to this chart, which is an automated Elliott Wave analysis tool by Wave Basis, Bitcoin will go to a new all-time high. So amazing for Bitcoin holders. But Litecoin, I'm just using the very same settings with Wave Basis, and this has actually got corrective down A, then B, and it's looking for a wave C down, but the wave C would take us below A, so it will take us to basically a new low for Litecoin. So maybe that analysis and that comparison I just showed you will continue into the future, because the Elliott Wave count using this automated Wave Basis count is telling us Litecoin is going to new all-time highs. Let me get this right. Bitcoin, according to this, is going to new all-time highs. But Litecoin is potentially going to revisit the lows. And so that's the comparison. Very interesting. But you can do it between all sorts of different currencies. What do you think, Bruce and David?
All-time highs coming up
for Bitcoin and all-time lows for Litecoin. These things are really interesting, right? And as well, the prediction is good with the waves and everything else, but there's a lot of stuff that happens in between sometimes, and that's very interesting. It's hard for me to see that Litecoin goes to all-time lows, but of course it could happen, especially if, just like we just all sat here and said, Bitcoin is king. And if everybody's going to sell their Litecoins to get Bitcoins, then that's probably its biggest trading pair, Bitcoin and Litecoin. So if people are going to sell their Bitcoins sell their Litecoins to get Bitcoins, then we could see all-time lows, I suppose, as we go forward. But I think this is a tremendous buying opportunity because
what we discussed yesterday and what David was saying yesterday was talking about, David was saying potentially what he thinks we might see a new all-time high for Bitcoin, and that could even be based on a really bad geopolitical scenario that we discussed. But we could still potentially see all-time high for Bitcoin, which would be digital gold, and that's what everyone calls Bitcoin, is the gold, the digital gold. So David may well be right about that. But if we see that, actually money will flow from altcoins into Bitcoin. That's what happens in times of trouble. So this actually could be playing into what everybody has kind of predicted. You said about potentially 2024 being a time of turmoil and potential trouble. David saying that potentially we're going to see new all-time high for Bitcoin. And I think everybody could be right here. So you just need to keep your eye on what's happening. Don't get caught in by all means, do dollar cost average. I don't believe in getting into one position, but dollar cost average, because even if we see a fall, hopefully we'll see rises again in the future. And with dollar cost averaging, you'll still make your money back. But I'm just talking choosing individual coins. I do think that David could be right and you could be right. We could all be right.
We're all right. Everybody's right. Okay. All three of us, we're the smartest people I've ever watched on TV.
One thing about Litecoin is the lack of leadership. I feel like without the leadership, it's hard to push Litecoin further. So I could see a downtrend for them this year.
I mean, Litecoin has been quite innovative because what they've done as a hard fork, the reason there was the hard fork from Bitcoin was to try to solve some of the issues that Bitcoin had. I mean, the 10-minute block time. So effectively the time to validate a transaction, you're talking a minimum 10 minutes, and usually people want 3 validations. So then you're talking 30 minutes, which I know it's quick. In fiat terms, it's lightning fast, but in crypto terms, it's dead slow. So if you're talking about transferring money, people wouldn't necessarily use Bitcoin. And that's one of the reasons they changed the algorithm on Litecoin to make the time 2.5 minutes, the block time 2.5 minutes. So it's, a quarter of the time. It's 4 times faster. And that's probably one of the main differences. And it's much lower energy. So it's lower energy consumption to mine the Litecoin. But obviously if you're using to transfer money, maybe you'd look at XRP. So maybe XRP, that'd be a good comparison. Maybe we'll do that in upcoming shows and just look at the comparison between XRP and Bitcoin. That would be a really nice one to do, wouldn't it?
That would be a really nice one. XRP is one of those coins. Everybody, I feel like, has owned some XRP at some point. I mean, even when the US banned it, everyone was just like, no, I don't have any. I have none. Like in the meantime, making sure that they had some. As the rulings come out, I mean, as we've talked about before, these are the central bankers, guys, that are behind this. That's why they're having all of the partnerships with the banks. That coin is going to be successful one way or the other. Okay. They have basically limitless money behind them and very, very powerful people. Now they can freeze it, seize it, take it by court order, all those things I always talk about. So be careful. It's not something that you want to hodl and put away, leave to your grandkids, possibly. Okay. Maybe you do want to do some of that, but it's not that type of asset. But $10 Ripple, I think, is totally possible. What's all-time high? $3, $4? I mean, it's like
Yeah. I mean, the one thing we can't use is logic. I know you said you can't see Litecoin going down that low, but we can't use logic for these things. We have to just watch the events. Drive these things. And as I say, the events that you portrayed yesterday could drive Bitcoin to all-time high. I think Bitcoin should be the core of anybody's crypto investment, and it is the biggest by market cap. As I say, it's 160 times the market cap of Litecoin. You know, it's equal to the market cap of all the rest of the tokens put together. So, you know, and it's the first one that will be, you know, a regulated ETF, you know, where the institutional money will flow in. So I still think Bitcoin, even in times of trouble, and I think probably particularly in times of trouble, as I think David is trying to say, will be the one. So, you know, don't count Bitcoin out at all. But yeah, by all means, look elsewhere and diversify a bit.
Everybody wants the Bitcoins, guys. Everybody wants the Bitcoins. I mean, that's you want to diversify. You want to have a few. I always mention Global Boost. I always mention Litecoin. I always talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is king. Bitcoin is king. Now, as we're talking about that, of course, you have the BSVers, and nice pump on BSV over the last couple of days. Woo, man, very nice. Oh man, if you long BSV, you're a happy camper right now. Now, of course, they've been delisted all over the place. It's very hard for them to keep some good exchanges and all. But, you know, they have some ongoing court cases, and it's we'd be, you know, to not mention that would not be very smart of us. So a lot of these, well, I wouldn't say a lot of these guys think, but it is, they are trying to basically take over Bitcoin, or however you want to say it. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm easy. Okay. There's BCH, which is Bitcoin Cash. There's BSV, and there's Bitcoin. Bitcoin is obviously king. You can't freeze it, you can't seize it, you know, all this stuff. BSV changed some of the code. They think they're the original Satoshi Vision, and that's fine. They've now recently changed some of that code. You can take it by court order, you can freeze it, you can do this and all this stuff. Now they're using it and proposing to use it in government and business and everything like that. And let's face it, that has a place. If you lose the deed of your house and your deed of your house is on a blockchain, you want to be able to replicate the deed of the house. You don't want to just be lost forever like my Bitcoins that I lost way back when. You know, you want to be able to bring it back. So it has a use case. But there are some court proceedings that are going through, and they are trying, from what I understand, to actually make the court have them say, the U.S. courts, that BSV is the real Bitcoin.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's knocking Bitcoin off top slot anytime soon. But that's not to say there aren't amazing opportunities. I've seen tokens in the past year do 10x, which is way better than Bitcoin. So whilst Bitcoin, in my view, should be a core holding, definitely you should be looking around for opportunities and do your analysis. And there's some amazing, as I say, 10x's. There's plenty of 10x's over the past year, even more 5x's. And, you know, you can't do better than that. So you don't need a lot of money into these things to make a lot of money.
That's right. And one thing as well that I always tell people is that even if by some crazy deal that there is, and the court comes through and says, okay, BSV is the Bitcoin, which it still isn't going to change the fact that we have this asset that exists, that millions and millions and millions of people all agree that this is the asset and are running different nodes and are helping with the decentralization of the network. That blockchain is not going to stop. So even if a court says, oh, this is actually the one, that's not going to change the fact that everybody is supporting the original, as we see it, Bitcoin. That is still going to continue. And we even found out that kind of the hard way. You know, old blockchains continue. Decentralized blockchains continue. You may think that you're going to turn it off and stop it and everything else, and your guys or your supporters may have a different idea. and that's the way it works. And so even if that happens, that is going to be, in my opinion, it will continue. Now, you know, who knows?
One interesting thing, by the way, just sort of, you know, just as a point of interest, because it's a kind of educational show as well as interest and excitement and all that. But quite interestingly, you know, the Bitcoin was originally started. There were no coins just created out of thin air. they were mined right from the beginning. The same with Litecoin, they're mined right from the beginning. So we're talking about 84 million Litecoins will be, is the final number that will be in existence by the year 2142. But it started off as 0, and it was mining that brought them into existence. And the mining is what's required to validate transactions, to validate the blocks. And that's what retains the integrity of the blockchain, that, those blocks are there. They're created. Once they're being created, they can't be destroyed. They're stored on the different computers all around the world within the blockchain, within the network. And that's what makes it so secure. But, some people might not be aware that these mineable coins started at 0, but some of the Ethereum-based coins, there's lots of ERC20 in particular, Ethereum-based coins, they're actually created not by mining those sort of secondary ones. They're basically, you can create 1 billion coins just in a moment, and that's just the most that will be created. They're not creating new ones. They're not mining new ERC20s. They're just basically creating a number of tokens, and they are deflationary by nature because they will be lost and reduced, whatever, with utility perhaps built into the protocols. So yeah, there's differences there. It's all interesting educational stuff, and it's good to understand it because it gives you more opportunity to understand how to make money and how to choose the tokens that make you the most money.
Well, yes, it is. That's one of the things as well. I think it keeps a lot of people from entering the space. And right now, it's been life-changing, guys. I mean, you can imagine we were buying Bitcoins at $70. It's 42 grand. You know what I mean? You can imagine the type of impact that has on your life. Now, so it's important to have some exposure to it. But if you don't understand it, then it can be a scary proposition. And so that's one of the reasons we have this show, tips and understanding what is going on during confusing times. It's confusing times. If you're a baby boomer or even a Generation X or one in between, I don't know if there's one in between or wherever. A Zoomer. This is my favorite. It's hard to sometimes understand, and you want to be able to take advantage of these trends. It's biggest they say the biggest transfer of wealth. Of course, I feel like they've been saying that our whole life, right? The biggest transfer of wealth is happening, blah 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 blah. But major transfers of wealth are happening, and you want to be able to follow those trends. And we always talk about the dollar and everything else too. But with the Fed being dovish, the dollar, I think, will continue to slide a bit, even though on the world stage, I understand compared to the pound, as we've talked about, Matt, we're probably going to strengthen. Here, overall, the dollar will probably weaken against the Bitcoin. So we'll see how that goes. But if the Fed continues to keep rates the same or lower them, then that should make the dollar go weaker.
And that's a great way to think about it, Bruce. I'm glad you brought that up, because Bitcoin should be treated just as another currency. And if we're talking about the dollar depreciating, yes, I can't really see it happening so much against the pound or the euro, because their economies are also probably going to decline, probably going to go into recession, etc. So they're all relative. But when you're talking about Bitcoin, again, that could be playing into David's scenario about Bitcoin rising to all-time highs. You're talking about relative, and maybe all the currencies, the fiat currencies, go to pot. And that's why Bitcoin would rise to all-time highs in dollar terms.
Agreed. Yeah, it is crazy times. We have things happening all over the world. Speaking about things all over the world, I see just backstage, we have our good friend, President Vitt has joined us. He's like such a popular guy. Everyone loves this guy. I saw him initially on TV years ago. And I thought, gosh, man, this Liberland thing, this looks pretty cool. What is this? And he was talking about it, and it was kind of just a funny, he might have been in New York or something even, but pretty interesting stuff. And, Matt, it is always a pleasure. We're wrapping up our second week. I think many to come. I can tell you that our producers over in wherever they are, I think the Indian Reservation is where they are actually, are very happy. They love the show. They love the energy. They love Matt Dixon and his charts, and they love what we're doing. And so congratulations on that. And thanks, Matt. It's like it's really a pleasure doing this every morning. I'm having a great time. Personally.
Yeah, I'm having a great time, and I'm even learning. It's just just listening to you guys. You never stop learning in crypto, in finance. There's always new stuff to be had. So thank you for that, and look forward to your interview or your discussion now with the president.
You got it, brother. We will talk to you soon. See you on Monday morning.
Cheers, guys.
Matt.
Enjoy
Cheers.
the week.
Okay, we got the big guy. The big guy. He is in the wings. Here he is, sir.
Hey, hello.
President Bit, welcome on.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
We
How
can.
are you?
I'm doing great. I'm actually, you got me a little bit in the middle of the meeting in the center, and I'm fighting for the battery time, but otherwise all good.
I'm like calling him. I'm like power calling him on every app you can imagine. Oh, this is coming on. Don, I told everybody you're coming. Where are you? Well, I know you're a busy man. So are you in what country are you in at the moment?
Well, I'm right now. I'm at our village in Liberland, very close to Liberland, in Serbia, and we are preparing for the launch on different exchanges. So it's exciting time. While the settlers are building in Liberland, in the center of Liberland, we are actually having a pretty big construction activity going on right now.
Really? Well, it's so exciting. President, you and I have been, we've been friends for quite a while now. It's been years, right, since we met. We've done a few things together. But this project, this country that you've been pushing forward, you have been the champion of this micronation, and stayed steadfast. I think it's been over a decade now, and just keep pushing, keep building, keep making those diplomatic relationships. And I know what recently recognized by Croatia, which was a big thing. Is that right?
Yeah, well, of course it's a big challenge. We're challenging our neighbor in a sense that they don't claim this territory of Liberland, but they also don't like us that much there. So it's a legal battle, which we are ready to take on. There is now 85 cases in which we are having this legal battle with Croatia. It's very important to know that not a single Croatian map has Liberland in it. So that's very important part of the story, because the Croatian constitution says that the Croatian laws only apply inside of Croatian territory. So right now we are in this stage when we are building, yet they're trying to give us some obstacles using their own jurisdiction, which of course doesn't apply inside of Liberland.
It doesn't apply, guys. Okay, it doesn't apply. This is Liberland we're talking about. It's our country. It's our country. I think I hit the board and put you off. I did it again. You're back, okay? Well, that's really cool. And I know we have our merits token. In full disclosure here, obviously David and I have been involved for a long time here. So tell us a bit about really exciting stuff. What can you tell us about the merits token blockchain? That's our official tender, from what I understand.
Well, the merits are 2 shares of the country. So we're the first shareholding country in the world. And they're given to people that help Liberland or that they financially contribute. So taxes in Liberland are completely voluntary. You don't have to pay them, but if you pay them, you become the shareholder of the country you're living in.
Wow, taxes are voluntary, but if you pay them, then you become a shareholder. It's such an interesting concept. As you put things together, and then how is the governance model working as well? Do you have some stuff you can share about that? I know it's very interesting for our viewers.
We do have 2 chambers. We do have 2 chambers. One chamber is Congress, and that is literally the corporation of the shareholders. And then there is Senate, which is more like a House of Lords of Liberland, the people that were the biggest taxpayers at the time. But we also are a democracy, because majority of citizens can get rid of any law that they don't like. And I think it's very important part of the story. that citizens, just like in Switzerland, can get rid of any regulation or law that they don't like.
Interesting. Yeah, so cool, right? I mean, it's power to the people. And you've been working on this for so long. I mentioned that. What was the initial when did you initially have the idea? Like when did you think, oh my gosh, there's this land over here, I'm going to claim it, and we're going to make Liberland? When did this?
Well, it was 2014, 1 year before Liberland actually started, or maybe even 2013. That was really early in the Bitcoin times. And I was also thinking, you've got all these decentralized currencies. Let's also build some cool government based on this new decentralized technology. So from very beginning, we knew we were going to go into crypto. We were waiting, or not crypto, blockchain basically, because I think that blockchain or country is the best use case for the blockchain system of governance, right? Like you really cannot do much better than that. You need the transparency, you need accountability, and all these things are there with blockchain. So, in Liberland, everything runs on blockchain. All the registries are on single blockchain platform. All the court cases, all the voting, all the budgeting, it's one single blockchain platform, which is very similar to the technology that your guys using.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the, as you mentioned, a really great use case of blockchain. We've talked about that from the beginning. And that's actually, when we talk about the monetary revolution, it took governments of the world a few years to figure it out. But you can run an entire government on blockchain, which is what Liberland is doing and what they're proposing is doing. So how do people get involved?
Well, it's fairly easy. People initially become e-residents, which costs a couple bucks. It's not expensive. And you get your ID card, and then you can start your Liberland company. And then when you start paying taxes and you accumulate $5,000 worth of taxes, you actually become a citizen of Liberland. Right now, it's actually went to 5,000 merits. And the merits are going on exchanges. So it will be decided by the markets how much the value of the citizenship of Liberland will be.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. So, yeah, that's really cool. I don't know if you saw, but, in El Salvador, which I missed that trip. Thank you for mentioning to me that a year or so ago. But how did that trip go to El Salvador?
It was one of the very important diplomatic trips. We were invited for official state visit by the president, and we had got a very nice support by the police, 4 nice policemen with machine guns, ladies. And they were driving us all around all the ministries. We visited the Bitcoin beach. It was very exciting, one of the very exciting diplomatic trips of Liberland. And of course, it's great to have yet another country that has diplomatic relations with Liberland. And we're planning to expand it to full diplomatic recognition in the coming year with El Salvador.
Well, that is amazing. What the president is doing there in El Salvador is really impressive. And as well, of course, what you're doing there in Liberland, in the heart of Europe, and that's like the part that a lot of people, I think that it's they don't understand that, you know what I mean? You can start a country in the middle of the desert. You can start a country, maybe somewhere in the Caribbean. You can, these types of places. But right in the heart of Europe, we have a micronation that is starting, that is in its birth, and you can become involved. And this is a true libertarian ideals country that is starting in the West, where really, communism or some form of it has pretty much taken over. We have the central banking system basically that's running these countries. And I know you have to have diplomatic relations with everybody, so you don't want to make anybody too upset. But, how is that? I mean, are we going to have a central bank in Liberland?
No, not really. But we've got 2 tokens, and one of them is Liberland Dollar, which is a very similar tokenomics like Polkadot. But what is important, we fine-tune it in the way with Milton Friedman ideas about automated central banks. So there are no central bankers in our central bank. Everything is automated based on the amount of liquidity on the markets. The inflation goes up and down. And then Liberland Merit is only limited to 70 million. There will be never more. So similar style like Bitcoin, we are only distributing 10% a year, which is also very important. We are not selling the whole country at once. And those are ideal shares, but these ideal shares are actually directly backed by the land and buy everything that Liberland has. So it's the first sovereignty-backed token in the world, which I think is very groundbreaking.
There's no doubt about it. It is very groundbreaking. And I understand while you were here in the U.S., you've been recognized by the Libertarian Party here in the U.S. Have there been some ongoing discussions with that? How is the situation of Liberland here in the United States?
We actually were invited by ALEC for their 50th anniversary in the summer. Where ALEC is one of the most influential Republican organization. We met people like Newt Gingrich there and people from the Foreign Committee, congressmen, senators. We are now pushing in multiple US states through this organization for recognition. I'm supposed to go to Hawaii next month to speak at the Congress, Texas, Utah. So we're pushing on the state level for recognition one by one.
Wow, that's interesting. What island in Hawaii?
Well, it's all islands, and I'm also meeting the president of the Hawaii Nation, which was actually recognized by Clinton. Quite cool that they've got some sort of special status. They're also interested in working with us. But I'm speaking mainly at the Congress because the Congress of Hawaii can also recognize other countries or ask U.S. government for recognition, which is very cool support. But at the same time, I'm also meeting the Hawaii Nation leaders.
Amazing. Well, I'll tell you, I've spent a bit of time in Hawaii on the different islands, and it is just a beautiful place, wonderful, a magical place. And I think this state, you gave you, obviously, this group, ALEC, gave you a very good advice going to the certain states, right? Get recognized by the states. We're supposed to be in the U.S., a republic. They always call us a democracy, but we're a constitutional republic. And each state is supposed to, have these powers. So that is pretty interesting. What are the the states that are most friendly at this point?
Well, we already had a vote in Illinois on recognition of Liberland. We are having very good relations in Utah, Texas, now Hawaii as well. So we're initially starting with these 4 states, but there is another 45 to go. So I'm very excited that it's actually progressing. And I think with Republicans back in power, we'll also have much better outreach inside of US.
It's true. I have a lot more contacts in there. As you know, I had friends in the cabinet. And the last one, people always say, well, who do you know in the current administration? Well, I don't know, It's a little different. That's how it works here. I do think that we could have a nice or whatever. I think the Republicans could come back into power. Pretty dicey situation that we have over here. I'm sure you watch it from afar. It's funny now, our political back and forth. I think obviously we have, even on the world stage, Donald Trump is just recognized as this powerhouse in the political theater. And of course, you have these different sects that are certainly going after, I would say, lawfare, as they call it. However you want to look at that, whether it's right or wrong or anything else, it is unprecedented in our current times, at least. From what I understand, Abraham Lincoln was taken off the ballot as well. So you could say that President Trump is in good company, but it will be interesting. Certainly, he is loved by a lot of people, and that'll be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. Fingers crossed, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. No matter what you think of him, you have to say that he plays well with the media.
He plays well with the media. The media, even when they hate him, they love to hate him, right? He's a ratings machine, according to himself. I am a ratings machine, he tells everybody. And he is. They can't stop talking about him. Whether they're talking bad about him or they're talking good about him, they can't stop talking about him. It's true, and that's all over the world. So speaking of all over the world, how are the efforts in Europe, inside the EU? How is the reception there?
Well, we do have a very good relations with some countries here in Balkans, where I'm expected to also make the highest state visits, probably unofficial ones, but still meeting the presidents of other countries here in Balkans, which I think is a very important step. And I already met the president of Croatia, which I think was the main and most important meeting this year. which was groundbreaking, and we shook hands twice actually during that meeting. So it was a very positive meeting where I could see that they see the potential. But right now, of course, there are some other players involved inside of the whole game about Liberland recognition and Liberland global support, and we have to tackle those other players as well. And we're just keeping on building. It's quite actually challenging for some other country to stop creation of Liberland, because we're very highly positive, very motivated, very peaceful, loving nation of people that want to build the most prosperous country in the world, not just the freest, but also the most prosperous. And I think it's a very big challenge for other countries to deal with it.
Well, it's so true. You're always the happy diplomat. I was talking about it a little bit earlier in the show. And diplomacy is an interesting thing, but you've done hats off to you. You've really done a great job of being that diplomat for all of us, for freedom-loving people around the world, for people that love liberty, that love freedom, and keeping a smile on your face and relentlessly going after these people who don't want to recognize a new place. They don't want some new people to come into the game.
But that's the fun part, because even if you fight with Liberland, you are actually recognizing it, right? So we don't care if people fight Liberland or ignore Liberland. That's great. It's even better if they come to support Liberland. That's even greater. But fighting Liberland is also a form of recognition.
That's a very good point. Fighting Liberland, supporting Liberland. Just talk about Liberland. That's what we always used to say back in the day. People say, "How many Bitcoins do you have?" You don't understand. When you're an early Bitcoiner, you always talk about Bitcoin.
That's a good question. I was one of the people that had some Bitcoins on Mt. Gox. And of course, we went fully in Bitcoin in 2015. The whole state budget since 2015 is in Bitcoin, or 90% of it. It actually got a little bit lowered by the fact that we also put some money and very little Bitcoins into the ICO of Ethereum, and then the Ethereum took a large part of the reserves for a while, which wasn't that bad. So that was a smart move. But, we of course rely on Bitcoin as a main reserve currency for the future.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it is something else, and you can only look no further than El Salvador, and of course now Liberland. You have another good example here. This reserve currency status of Bitcoin, it's not going anywhere. It is supported by people around the world, and it's ruled by math, and it's ruled by the trust of everybody. We've been pouring over the code for over a decade. People say there's a back door. I can tell you there's not a back door, okay? There's no back door. This is we don't know who invented it. Could have been aliens. Could have been the NSA. Sure, we don't know. But here it is. And for over a decade, we have been unable to poke a hole in it or find any back doors. And now we're running off of running an entire country off of what is based off of this code. So really exciting stuff. Talk to me a little bit about the metaverse as well. I know you've put a lot of effort into
that. Well, of course, we are modern country, so our cadastre maps are visible not just 2D, but we also have a very nice metaverse where people can drop whatever they want to build, and we just place it there, and people can walk through it. We have a very good technology, scalable up to 10,000 users. I still think there is not much competition that can do that. We are using the latest Unreal Engine. So it's very nice. We are available on all serious platforms, Macintosh, Linux, Windows, but also we do pixel streaming. So it's a very nice tool for people to help us visualize what Liberland will look like in the future. And for us, it's kind of urban planning tool as well. If you want to build something in Liberland, you should first deploy it into the metaverse. So there could be some at least couple-day discussion with the neighbors if that is what you really want to build there.
Awesome. And I know we only have a couple more minutes here, but I know we have a free zone set up in Serbia. Talk to me a little bit about that. Tell our viewers, what does that mean?
Free what in Serbia?
Is there a free zone?
Free zone? Yeah. I'm actually right next to it right now in Apatin, and we're meeting somebody from the municipality. I finished some legal paperwork. That's why I'm in the town, and it took a little bit longer with the notaries. So we have a free zone here. It's great because you can, without customs and without VAT, trade with the rest of the world. So that's one of the great business potentials that we can offer Liberland industry right now before we actually start developing industry in Liberland. But we're very close of actually moving some of that industry also into Liberland. But Liberland is very small. It's only 7 square kilometers. We don't want to deploy too many factories inside of it. And it should really be a nice place for people to do business. And we want to build the biggest adventure park in the world, like a nature adventure park there. So those are the plans for next year already.
That is really awesome. And I know Serbia is, they've been very supportive kind of from the inception. And, we really appreciate that.
From the beginning, they said they don't mind creation of Liberland. It was not formed on the territory of Serbia, despite the fact that historically Liberland belonged to Serbia.
Okay. But it's not, obviously it's not claimed.
Not a single Serbian map shows Liberland on its inside of its borders, and we got that confirmation from the foreign ministry that they don't have a claim and they don't mind creation of a new country on the other side of Danube.
Very awesome. Well, President Witt, I really appreciate you coming on, man. It is always a pleasure. We've met around the world. I've played one of our interviews from Taipei. I looked a little jet lagged in that video, which was pretty funny. Of course, David has joined us multiple times as well around the world, and it's always a pleasure to push forward freedom-loving people, freedom-loving country. And I have the most, I believe in the cause. I believe in the country. Of course, I was honored to receive the award, the Merit Award as well from you there at the Habsburg event in Vienna. And it's, we're just always working to push Liberland forward, and really thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you very much, guys. Brothers, thanks a lot and have a great day. And I hope to see you in Liberland. Please come for the anniversary. The 13th of April will be a major event, and we will get a lot of things launched. And as I told you, we're going to Binance also in a couple of weeks, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, this is as we go on to Binance, let's plan on doing another show for the launch of that as we go on to Binance. And then thanks so much for coming on, President Witt.
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
President Witt.
Awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
He's so cool. I mean,
he's like a founding father.
Country. Huh?
Yeah. He's a founding father.
We're founding fathers too, David.
Yes.
We are the founding fathers of Liberland.
Yeah, it's really the best project going.
I mean, we have our own country, guys. Okay? We have our own country. We're going to get a Navy. In the middle of the wall? No, I'm kidding.
Have a beauty pageant.
Well, that was one of his early things he always said. You have to have a beauty pageant. He used to always say, you need your own beer and you have to have a beauty pageant. And he used to say, too, you need your Navy. I think that's where I used to get it. That's where I get that. But yeah, we're big supporters, guys. Check them out. It's Liberland.org. Liberland. Wonderful, wonderful place. Beautiful as well. David, I think we have to go for the anniversary.
April 13th.
Yeah, you'll probably be in Ireland, but short trip for you to get over there. I think it's now time to play a little music. You got some music? There we go. Guys, we finished another week. Our second week. We're really happy that you could all join us. And we want you to be a part of it. As we move forward, I forget a lot of times, but impact.live, if you go there, you can kind of chat right there. So if you have some questions or whatnot as we move forward, I'll remember to mention that. Impact.live, you can always go there. And of course, you can talk on YouTube or normally LinkedIn once I verified myself. I have to get my passport. But anyway, but we're having a great time. We're going to continue this 5 a.m. in Texas and Louisiana, 6 a.m. East Coast of the U.S., 3 p.m. in Dubai, 6 a.m. in Bangkok. Take it away.
Awesome work, Bruce. Love everybody. We'll see you soon.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.